Hello and welcome to episode 51 of the podcast, The Pocket Stylist. I'm Lisa Talbot. I am an award-winning personal stylist, and this podcast is always about style and fashion, but we cover so much more. It's always about being seen, it's about what we wear, and it's about how we feel good. So today I am very, very lucky because I am joined by one of LinkedIn's top voices, and it is Lavina. So Lavina, hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm very well, thank you. Lovely to be here.
Yes, and it's lovely to have you here. And I feel very privileged actually when we are, you are one of LinkedIn's top voices. Just tell everybody what that means. And then we're going to get into conversation, aren't we? All about how to be seen on LinkedIn, both using your expertise. We're going to talk about content. We're going to talk about being visual, etc., etc. But tell everybody what it means to be a LinkedIn top voice.
So LinkedIn have their own way of categorizing who the influencers on their platform are rather. And so they have a list, and been putting out a list for a couple of years of LinkedIn top voices. And they do LinkedIn top voices in different industries. So there are LinkedIn top voices in sales and sports and all kinds of different industries. And they have them by country as well. So there are LinkedIn top voices in the UK, in Singapore, in Germany, all over the world. And so I happen to be one of those LinkedIn top voices. It just means that I've been putting out content that LinkedIn thinks is different, that is worth highlighting. And that's all it means. And it just means that I often have access to some cool little tools that LinkedIn is putting out a little sooner than other people get them. So,
And
yeah,
that's so lovely though, isn't it? Because when you have an expert in a certain field, to be able to drop those little nuggets of information that all of us don't know, but is either coming down the track or whatever, it's really good. I think, Lavinia, LinkedIn has really changed, hasn't it? Even if I think about it, how long it's been in my business and how I've used it or not used it, as the case may be, but now how I look at it in a very different way. Would you say that LinkedIn as a platform has changed kind of dramatically in the content it likes to see, how people tend to use it more now?
Well, it changed. The big change started to happen in 2016. So LinkedIn was bought by Microsoft in 2016. And since then, it has been evolving in a whole different direction than it started. Most of us had accounts from way back when. So my account is like 14 years old. And I started like everybody else. We just created a online resume, right? Just what many people did. And then it kind of collected dust for a long time. You might have gone to it to look for a job. Maybe you were adding some context like I was, because I was moving around the world. I was always adding my network to my LinkedIn. And then around 2016, when Microsoft bought it, LinkedIn moved to becoming much more of a content platform. And it started to see itself also as a news platform. And in the last 2 years, certainly LinkedIn have come out very openly to say what they reward on their platform are conversations. So people who are having conversations about topical issues on their platform, that's what the algorithm is geared to rewarding. And so that's why on LinkedIn, the things that you see, like lots of where you see something going viral, it's often because people are talking about it. And that's also why there's trending topics on LinkedIn now. Well, there never used to be trending topics. And also because many people will tell me, oh, but hashtags don't work on LinkedIn. This is the other story. But that used to be the case. But now, because there are trending topics, hashtags do work on LinkedIn, and they work very well. So yeah, it's changed a huge amount.
And I think it's become a very interesting place, exactly like you said. We were talking just before we pressed the record button, and I had LinkedIn, but I didn't really use it. But now it's definitely one of the platforms I enjoy being on because, compared to Instagram, for me, it's very visual. It's more about the clothes, the style, the color, etc. And then obviously Facebook is much more of a community in that kind of way. For me, this is for my business. But for LinkedIn, it's really intriguing because it now gives me the opportunity to almost share my business expertise as well. Because, being in business, for 15, 16 years, LinkedIn now enables me to articulate some of what I've done and how I've done it. And also for me, pick up hints and tips from others, like you said, about people sharing knowledge, sharing stories in that way. And I think all the platforms are different. And I think LinkedIn does stand out because the conversations you have on LinkedIn are very different to the conversations you have on, Instagram, for example. Do you think and this is where we were going to go start the conversation, do you think being seen, kind of in the inverted commas, being seen on LinkedIn has changed? Because I know there's lots and lots of conversations, isn't there, about was it too formal? Was it too businessy? Has it now got too personal? Why are people posting about their dogs? What do you think to these all? Because it has adapted, hasn't it? And it's evolved and over the time, especially during, the past couple of years.
I think you can create any experience you want on LinkedIn, to be honest. In the US now, LinkedIn is also sieving out political content, for instance. This is a new function. And so you can do all kinds of things on LinkedIn. You can create the experience that you want. If you want to take away some of the personal content, you can actually curate that. You can just mute a whole bunch of people, hashtags, and you can start following hashtags that are different, that are very much more in your space. So you can curate the experience that you want. The algorithm is relatively responsive to what you are saying you wanted to see. So you can create the experience you want. I still think it's mostly a professional platform, so it would behoove you to stick to some level of professionalism on LinkedIn. You don't want to take too many personal liberties. I mean, you will turn people off at some point. But if you have a personal type business, like if you're a trainer or a stylist as you are, there's no reason why you shouldn't be on that platform, just because it's not what is like banking or something, one of the traditional industries that you'd think you'd find on LinkedIn. I think you should bring your business to LinkedIn because it is a great way to be found. It is a great way to showcase yourself as a business. And it's a great way for you to find other businesses to partner with, other businesses to work with. So not just to find consumers. You can, of course, find consumers for almost every business on LinkedIn, but also it's a great place for collaboration.
Yeah.
And it's a great place for you to create a real buzz in your industry for yourself.
I think you're so right because, yes, I am a stylist, but I specialize in the female business owners, the female entrepreneurs, the female business leaders. So for me, a lot of those women, they hang out there, so I can share my styling content and, things like testimonials and we can share newsletters, all that type of thing, because yes, I can share, I don't know, certain tips to dress your body shape, or I can share certain color information, but the audience that is on there absolutely loves the content. And I think it's really interesting, isn't it, how we show up, whether it be imagery or whether it be the written word, is very different. And I've noticed, that LinkedIn loves an image. And, for me, I can put up imagery, I don't know, of a new photo shoot. We can put up imagery of a before and after of a lady's, but it really likes imagery, doesn't it now?
Well, I think it always did. My best posts have always been posts with a picture. So pictures do very well. So if you're putting up video, though, you should know that LinkedIn only counts the video once it's been viewed for 6 seconds. So this is why the video numbers tend to be much lower than, say, if you're putting it out on YouTube or on TikTok, or you're putting it out on Instagram Reels. You'll find your viewing numbers on LinkedIn with video is just lower. But that's only because of the way it counts it. And that's only temporary. I think if you're doing video on other platforms, you can still do very well on LinkedIn too. But written posts with a picture, they do the best. But the other thing that LinkedIn rewards is dwell time. So they reward people for spending time on your post. So anything that requires someone to spend a little bit more time. So for instance, carousels, where you have to scroll through a number of files. That does very well. Polls do well because you have to answer a question. So anything that keeps people on your post for a bit longer, anything that makes them dwell on your post, that's what does really well.
It's really interesting, isn't it? There is so much to it. I find as well that there's a lot more people take almost more notice as well about their profile picture, the picture. And because now we can obviously use it as a solitary image, so for me it's about what people are wearing as to how they want to be seen, but also we know that there's a little video now behind that of I think it's 30 seconds, isn't it? Am I right? 30 seconds, yeah.
That's right.
So it's 30 seconds. So again, we can show up in a different way. So for me, it's still about, what we're wearing in both the images and what we're using there as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you should pay a lot of attention to your profile photo. If you're putting up, if you've got creator mode turned on, then the video function is also there. So it's a bit like one of those Hogwarts pictures, right? The Harry Potter, the moving. So that's what you get. You get 30 seconds video behind it. You can also record the pronunciation of your name, but it gives you a whole 10 seconds to do that. So you can say your name and your business or anything else you'd like there. So you have a lot of places to turn up your voice, your image, and always with the picture, people try to go too fancy with these pictures. And what you really want to focus on is making sure people can see your face. So you don't want like half body shoots, and you don't want to be too distant. You want to make sure that people can see your face, because it attaches to every time you turn up on LinkedIn, whether it's a comment or a search, your face turns up next to your name. So make sure people can see your face. So point to either look directly into the camera or kind of into the camera so people can see you, smile. Unless you have a very angsty brand, you really should smile.
It's so interesting though, isn't it? Because I have to say, I use my profile picture throughout all my social media, because I know that when I'm looking for somebody, if I've seen them in one place, I tend to be quite visual. So I think, oh, okay, they were wearing a pink shirt, or they had, I don't know, big, really strong dark glasses. So I look for that. And I think that's so important, isn't it, to keep the consistency across all the platforms, so people can find you very quickly, even when they're looking on LinkedIn or any other platform.
Definitely. I think having a common image across your platforms is very important. Staying consistent, but also updating it from time to time. It should look like the best version of you. It shouldn't look like you from 10 years ago. So, you should definitely look like the best version of yourself, but you shouldn't be so unrecognizable that when someone actually meets you in real life, they're like, oh my God, who are you?
Yeah.
No
Who are you?
match at all between what you've seen online. So definitely have a match, but it should look like the best version of you. You're not required to roll out of bed and take a photo. That's not required to be authentic. You can be yourself while looking the best version of you.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you know what? Another thing I wanted to touch on, because you mentioned it earlier on when we first started talking. I said to you, and I don't know what made me ask it actually. I said, have you always lived in Germany? Because you mentioned that you live in Germany, and you said, well, no, that's not where I'm originally from, and I've moved around because of your husband's job. So I still don't know what made me ask that question. That was a bit spooky, but I'd love to touch on how often you've moved around and how easy you have found to move your wardrobe each time. Have you got it down to a fine art that you have a very select capsule wardrobe that works for you on a regular basis, so you don't have masses to take each time? Have you kind of streamlined it, or do you just literally throw it all in cases and just hope and pray it gets to the other end?
Well, we have a very structured move. So we move with everything. So everything you see in this frame, so if you're watching us, there's art, there's pictures, there's all kinds of things. Everything moves with us. So our lights, our art, our furniture, everything moves with us. So our last move were 2 40-foot containers. So I don't think I'm any kind of advocate for minimalism. We move everything. In terms of wardrobe, it depends. So we have home postings. So when we're at home, we tend to have fewer social engagements that are formal. So my wardrobe is definitely much more functional.
Yeah.
When we are out on posting, I might, so the final year of our posting, the last time around, I did just under 200 events. So, and that's a lot of events. So you
That
have
is a lot
to,
of events.
yes, it is. And so we do, so I definitely have a much more formal wardrobe with the matching jewelry and handbags and all of those things that go with that, that I don't need to access when we're at home. So it usually goes into a little bit of a storage. And then I take it all out again when I need it. So I have sort of the more glamorous wardrobe that's needed when I have that setting. And then we have also climate things. So sometimes we might live somewhere tropical where we don't need any of our winter wardrobe, then we put the winter wardrobe into storage. Or we might be, as we are in Germany now, we can rotate our wardrobes. It depends. It's very different for each of us. I just noticed with the children, we have a lot of children, that with the children, we essentially just have to cull regularly because of sizing. But yes, it's always interesting. We all have
down to a right fine art though, haven't you? Even by listening to you, I'm thinking, wow, that's, that is, because I suppose because you move more regularly, it's easier. Whereas, if I look at some of my clients who say, can you please, Lisa, come and work with me because I'm moving house? And if they haven't moved house for like 10 to 15 years, it's like, wow, there is some stuff here, because that's when the wardrobe seems to accumulate more and more and more, because, not everybody goes through it on I don't know, 6 month or a yearly basis. So it's really interesting. Do you get to the point as well, when you are moving, do you kind of, as you're packing it, think, I didn't wear that this season, or I don't know why I really bought that because I don't like it, so I'm not taking it? So do you tend to find that you do remove pieces before you move on to that next destination?
It's a mixed bag. I'll tell you, really honestly, it's a mixed bag. Also because I yo-yo in size. So I don't have like one. So my wardrobe comes in like 3 different sizes because I yo-yo, and then the seasonal. So it's really, I think it's a labeling thing. So I do label things and I keep them if they're still usable. But I do cull from time to time. But mostly for me, it's a categorization issue. If I categorize it well when it comes into the house, like this is casual winter, this is casual winter, this size, this is, whatever it is, if I've categorized it well, then it will last for a long time. It means that when I need that type of clothing in that size, that I can do that I can access it. I know where it is. So for me, it's a cataloging situation. If it's cataloged right, no problem. If it gets into the never land, then that stuff that just accumulates, and that I just at some point just have to donate or get rid of. But I'm getting better at it. When I was younger, I definitely bought much more that the single occasion clothing. And now I don't do that anymore. I don't have anything that's single occasion. So yeah, that's moved on a lot. And jewelry actually is kind of hard. So I also had to come up with a system for jewelry, and now I've gotten really quite, again, very good at this. Long pieces, the silver pieces, the real pieces. It's just it's now a fine art, but it took me time to get there.
But I think that's really interesting, isn't it? Because, I always talk to everybody about having a wardrobe that really works for you is exactly what people should have. Having a wardrobe full of clothes that you don't like, or don't fit, or that you're never going to wear, it creates a very negative mindset. Whereas your wardrobe is basically everything in there that you like, you wear, makes you feel good, because you have to look at it on a more regular basis. It doesn't get left for 5 years. Because you're looking to think, oh, I might move in a year, or I might move in 2 years, or I might be moving in another 6 months. You have got to keep on top of it, which is really interesting, because the majority of ladies that I see say, I haven't looked in this wardrobe for months and months, and it is when we get to somewhere they say, oh, I don't even remember buying that, so I think you're a great example of using your time very wisely to make sure that when you move, that wardrobe works to move with you and do that as well. Lavinia, we are coming to the end of our podcast. Please, can you just share with everybody where they can find you, where they can listen to your knowledge bombs on LinkedIn? You know, that I know they can find you on LinkedIn, but anywhere else that you want them to be able to find you, please share with everybody.
Sure, of course you can absolutely find me on LinkedIn. It's always my name, Lavina Thanapathy. You can also find me on lavinia.club, and that's a good place to go if you're trying to set up your LinkedIn profile. I have a free profile checklist there that you can just help yourself to, and then you can check your profile against it and see where you need to do some work on it. You can also find me with my full name at laviniathanapathy.com. I'm a professional speaker, and I speak about change, about personal branding. And as the International Day of the Woman is coming up on the 8th, soon in March.
8th of March, yep.
8th of March, exactly. I'm the founding chair for Inspiring Girls in Singapore. And so I speak quite often on issues around gender diversity and women in the workplace. So yeah, so those are all the places that you can find me, but LinkedIn is the single best place.
See, so you're not just a LinkedIn top voice. There is so much more to you, Lavinia. You know, where I didn't expect you to kind of go into a bit more, which is fantastic, you know, because it shows, doesn't it, that LinkedIn especially is a platform that is such a multifaceted as to who you are, what you do, how you get your message out, etc., etc. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you so much for spending the time chatting to me. I hope, you know, that people that have listened and people that have watched have managed to get some real information from you with regards to LinkedIn. We've talked a little bit about being seen, and we've all talked about your wardrobe and how you move it on a regular basis. So Lavinia, thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who's listened, and we will hear and speak to you all again soon. Thanks everybody. Thanks Lavinia. Bye. Bye.
Bye.